Hi everyone, it's Christine from Finding Dharma. Welcome to video 3 of my intro video series to learning your soul's language. I am going to be talking and continuing to expand the idea of why learning your soul's language and building a deeper connection to your soul is so important. So in video 1, we talked about what intuition even is, and then we talked about the different ways that your soul can connect with you and speak to you using the clairs. In the second video, we talked about keys to awareness of how to kind of approach the, not the goal, but maybe the goal, the how to approach even trying to connect with your soul. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about aspects that deal with self-empowerment and taking back your power and what that means and what that looks like. So there is a link below to the playbook or the workbook that goes along with these intro videos that's on my website. So if you're interested in printing that out, again, there's going to be some things that go along with what we talk about in this video and some things that expand on it. So it's free and you can download it and use it if you'd like to. So really what I want to do is do two different things in this, or two complementary things in this video. I want to talk about the ideas of knowledge and wisdom and how society and the world around us teaches us to approach them and their influence they have on us and our empowerment. And then I want to talk about some things that these are the things I was talking about in video 2, that video 3 would be about these kind of bigger issues that the world is screaming at us and forcing us to look at. But I think are so important for us to build an awareness around them and where we stand and how they're functioning in our lives, how they're disempowering us in some ways and how we can take our power back, and why this work of the soul language and becoming connected to our true self is so hugely important in the world that we live in right now, but in general as well. So I have over here some notes. So if you see me looking over, it's because they're over here. I wanted to start video 3 with the concepts of knowledge and wisdom. And like I already spoke of before, I think it's really important to be aware of the words that we're using and their meanings and their impact. And this is really interesting to me to speak of this because I hinted at it already, or didn't hint at it, I kind of straight out said it, that we give away our power to experts in the world around us. And this really kind of comes to the crux of what that is and how that is working in our lives with using these two words of knowledge and wisdom. So I looked up the definitions, as you know I like to do. And knowledge is described as facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education, outer world, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject, so rationalization, the thinking out of the process, the creating a hypothesis and finding evidence in the world to support it. That's all knowledge. That is the world that we all outwardly live in, and that is the world that has been presented to us. That is the real world and the world that we should only be focusing on. So, knowledge versus wisdom. Wisdom, I have 3 different definitions that they gave. Definition 1 is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise. Wisdom is now starting to talk about our own perceptions, our own inner knowledge based on what we have experienced and who we are. The second definition of wisdom, they said, is the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience. So it is acting on things based on experiences you've had and what those experiences have taught or shown you. In one way, this can speak to the outer world and experiences life has given you based on outer world experiences. I kick a ball, it goes across the court. I turn my steering wheel in the car to the right, my car turns to the right. But it also could very well be talking about experiences that we've had in meditation, in our dreams, in feeling like we're really connecting with loved ones that have passed over through hearing songs or seeing signs in nature or seeing number symbols. So it can really play both ways, that definition of wisdom. And the last one is about wisdom being a body of knowledge and principles that develops within a specified society or period. So that talks about kind of the wisdom traditions, like Buddhism and different religions have wisdom traditions. So it's built up this whole systemic kind of belief system as a wisdom. So again, we're coming to a spiritual kind of meaning behind wisdom, even in talking about religious wisdom practices. So there's a definite difference between knowledge and wisdom. And in this class, obviously, we're going to be building our own inner wisdom in order that we can rely on that alongside all of the knowledge that we get from experiences with interacting with the outer world and the world around us. So I think that's really important to start being able to designate between the two and kind of sensing into the feel of what that is. There's a very clinical feel to knowledge. There is a definite feeling of it's outside of ourselves. It's something that is brought to us from facts that are given to us, from experts, from our experiences, like thinking about physics and different things like that, or mathematics. So it definitely is real knowledge, but wisdom also has to kind of come into play with that. And so we have the outer world knowledge and the inner world wisdom. And this class is all about connecting with that more strongly. In the workbook, there are some reflection exercises that kind of ask you to think about how knowledge plays a role in your life and how wisdom plays a role in your life. Which one supersedes the other, or are they equal? Those kinds of questions. So it gets you reflecting a little bit about you and how you have adopted these two aspects of knowing and perceiving the world within it. To me, it's fairly clear that by relying on knowledge and relying on the outer world as the place of truth rather than within us, we have given our power away to the outer world. And that kind of leads us into the bigger topic that I feel a little daunted by covering, but that I think is so important right now. So I want to talk about discernment, sovereignty, empowerment, and truth. As I speak now, it's December of 2021. We are coming up on almost 2 years of dealing with pandemic and quarantine. We are dealing with living in the United States. We are dealing with a world that has, over the last decade, become more and more divisive, that has become riddled with so many truths based on facts and knowledge that the outer world is presenting, that it has become impossible to prove anything really based on facts because there are so many varying facts out there that anyone can find evidence to back up their opinion and their agenda. That it really is the world, I feel, is asking us and requiring us to rely on what we feel and what we believe as individual is truth, that what we feel is the direction we want the world to move in. And it's forcing us to recognize the individuality of each of us, and that my truth isn't your truth. My belief isn't necessarily your belief. And this divisiveness is so unsettling to so many people that we're seeing crisis moments come up, and moments where we are completely aghast at what is going on, because it is so counter to what we believe is the right decision and the right method and the right path and the right choice. So I really feel on a spiritual level that this has been created for us to force us to connect more deeply, with what we want to see in the world, with creating what we want to see in the world, with who we are and how we act in the world, because the world is bombarding us with so many different messages that, and it's become so critical to make a choice. Um, and I don't want to, I really want to come across as I'm not judging one side or the other. And I think I have really walked that line as much as possible. You'll see in the workbook, I put a little asterisk, and because I wanted to put in a caveat. I think we have to realize that maybe I'll start with the word truth. There were the 4 words: discernment, sovereignty, empowerment, and truth. I'll start with truth. I think we have to realize that based on where you're born, what time period you're born in, what gender or sexual orientation or family you're born into, what social class you're born into, everything creates a different truth for different people. My truth as Christine, born and raised in Connecticut as a white female, is not going to be the same truth as an Asian American gay young man living in San Francisco. We may have some commonalities, but I can never know the truth of what his life is like, just as he can never know the truth of what my life is like. Or as I was writing in the workbook and defining truth and why I was putting that word in there, it occurred to me that even truths about financial systems aren't universal, or truths about physics. If you think about quantum physics and all the discoveries that they're making, we think we know how the world functions and how the universe functions and the physical dynamics around that, the laws that govern that. But we're discovering new things all the time. If we think back to the time of Columbus, everyone back then thought the world was flat, and only the crazy few believed the world were round. And the church imprisoned the people the astronomers that claimed that. I just read about a culture that they don't have a number system. They can only count up to 10 or 20, and then going beyond that to them makes absolutely no sense. Their truth of the world is that you only count the amount of things that you can see before you. And once you get to quantities that are higher or that are more difficult to mentally envision, they don't exist for them. There is no need for them. Their truth has nothing to do with our mathematical system. Their world is completely different from ours. And you can take that on minute scales to my experience growing up in the family that I had. That gave me a certain truth about parental roles, children's roles, gender roles, about money, about how you love another person, about how you care for another person, about how you choose to live your life, what you show to the outer world, how you speak of yourself. It's completely different from the person that grew up right next door to me. So we have to be really careful about taking on certain truths from the outer world, but also not designating that there's only one truth in the world. So we're coming back to that idea that we're unique. Discernment is also something I think is really important, and it's that taking a step back and trying to look at the world and try to view the world from a little bit higher perspective, trying to take out the emotional judgment of what is going on and trying to see it for what it is, seeing it for that you will have a personal perspective in it. And again, it's not going to be um, the same perspective as all the other people around you might carry. Doesn't mean that it's less than, it's just yours. Sovereignty is also, I think, really important right now because we're so inundated with so many different opinions and ideas. We're pressured to make choices about our lives that other people will attack us for. Other people will claim us as being amoral or claim us as being weak and sheep. And so we really need to be able to say, I am making this choice, making a conscious choice, discerning what is going on, discerning what I need and what my soul speaks to me and tells me that is right for me. And then being able to stand in that and choose consciously from a soul perspective, as well as from a knowledge perspective, knowledge and wisdom again, and then to make that choice. We're sovereign unto ourselves, and we need to know what is right for us in order to live an authentic life. And that means being able to combine the knowledge and the wisdom that is brought to us from the outer world and from the inner world. And I think that really leads to empowerment. If we can take these things, we can discern what is going on, speak to our soul, connect with our soul, listen to our soul, act from there, then we are speaking and we are living our truth and we are empowered individuals. So I really feel like connecting with our soul and learning our soul's language is a lot more than just living a spiritual life because we're missing something in our lives. It's a lot more than just learning our soul's symbolic language. And although that's what we're going to be focusing on this class, it leads to so many more things that are so deep and so important, and such key factors to living an authentic, soulful life and for living the life that each of us was meant to live, that I needed to bring in these ideas as well. And maybe we'll talk about them as the class goes on, but at least we've started a conversation, and I would love it if you would share your experiences of what these past 2 years of quarantine and pandemic, or past 10 years of living in a country whose political divide has been becoming more and more ridden with aggression and control and um, forcing us to either follow along blindly or stand up for what we know is right for us in face of a lot of pressure, um, regardless of what sides you find yourself in on any given day. So if you feel like sharing, I would love it if you write in the comments below, or if you come to class, or if you want to email me and um, to see where you're at and how this has been going for you. And I entitled this Rethinking and Reclaiming Wisdom. And I hope that I have sparked some kind of thought or opened up some new aspects that um, maybe you hadn't thought of, or maybe you were wondering about, or just empowered you to know that the only person that you have to justify your choices to in the end is yourself. So I love you all. Thank you so much for watching these videos. And you can find more information in the links below in the workbook too. All right. Take care.